Okay, so I've had an interesting weekend. So I was at work, doing pretty good. I'm like, hey, it's almost Christmas. There are more people than there is space. Hooray! And I started to feel kind of really tired, and my eyes were hurting, and I was just feeling like I couldn't get a deep breath, and I was like, I'm not feeling too great. And I was starting to wonder if I was going to end up having an episode, because I usually get a good amount of warning before I have one. So I finish work somehow, despite the fact I was struggling so bad. I clock out and I'm starting to feel dizzy, and where like you almost pass out and you're like, no, gotta keep going. No, gotta keep going. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the cafe, I'm gonna get myself a drink, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna drink my water until I feel better. So I'm standing in line, feeling like death, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna have an episode, And I get to the front of the line. I'm talking to the lady, and it's all I can do to focus enough to talk to her. And I make my order, and I'm trying to pay, and it feels like the world has just kind of shrunk, and I can't focus on anything, and my entirety of my brain power is telling me just pay. Insert the card, put in your PIN, press the green button, get through it. And she gives me my drinks, and I pay her, and I know it's coming. The world is getting heavy. I feel like I can't take a deep breath. I have vertigo in the worst way, and I knew that there was no way I was getting out of this one, because usually I'll sit down, put my feet up, but every once in a while, there's just the perfect storm, it seems like. Because this is the first time I've had an episode since I got diagnosed back in March. So, I know it's coming. I know that I'm gonna hit the floor. I know it. And so I look at the woman who made my drinks, and I said, call the MOD. MOD being manager on duty. And she said, MOD? And I said, yeah. And I went down. And for me, I don't lose consciousness. I know I'm hitting the floor. I feel the floor underneath me. It's the cutting the puppet strings. So I'm lying on the floor, and it is a full episode where I can't move at all. It's like I have the most extreme muscle weakness when I have my episodes, where pretty much the only thing I can move is my head and the very tips of my fingers. It is so difficult to move when I have these episodes. And it's so difficult to talk because I have dysphagia when I have episodes. And dysphagia means that you can't communicate. You know the words you want to say, but somehow it gets garbled by the time it gets to your mouth. So when you want to talk, it just comes out as a jumbled mess. And during my episodes, it just feels like it's such an effort to breathe. And I either breathe or I talk, but there's no in between. And it was weird. And it was really sad because I thought I'd been doing so well. And on one hand, I am happy that this is the first time it's happened in months, but at the same time, it was really frustrating. And it's never a good time. But so I'm lying on the floor, and the people start to gather around me, and they're going, what's going on? What's going on? What's wrong with her? And someone said she's a diabetic. And so someone asked me, do you need insulin? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not diabetic. Do not give me insulin. You will. Not a good idea. I'm not a diabetic. So in my head, I'm going, oh my God, please don't do that. But trying to get the words out to say I'm not a diabetic was just so incredibly hard. And it was only the most basic parts of my brain seemed to work. And so I'm looking at her, I'm like, not diabetic. And they're going, well, what's wrong with you? And something that I got pretty soon after I got out of the hospital was a medical alert bracelet. And I actually used to have like almost like a charm one, but the charms were ripping my tights and I would fall asleep with it on like this and I'd have a starfish on my face. But this is really the first time I've had to use my medical alert bracelet, and thank God I had it because there was no communicating at this point. So I have this one, and I like it because it doesn't rip my tights, and it's pretty, and unless you're looking for it, it doesn't look like a medical bracelet, so it doesn't seem like you're advertising as much. But yeah, so with what little strength I have, I kind of ripped it off and handed it to somebody, I don't know who it was, and they read it. And at this point, my MOD comes up, and I've been telling her, you know, this is what I have, this is what happens. And I've had like little spells where I get a little dizzy and I lie down and I put my feet up, but this was the first, honest to God, episode she's ever seen. And so she's asking, what do you need? What do you need? And I'm like, oh God, you guys, quit asking me to talk. It's so difficult. So I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying to say legs. I need my legs up. And all I could get out was legs. Thank God she read my mind and put my feet up. So I sat on the floor, or no, lied on the floor, and cried, because for whatever reason when I have these episodes, it's like a vasovagal response where you just cry. I hate it. But so that whole thing happened, and I'm having people try to ask me, who do you want me to call? And I'm like, well, call my mom. Call my mom, not answering. Okay, call my dad. Not answering. And again, all I can get out is maybe 1 or 2 words at a time. So it's like mom, dad. And at this point, neither one of them is answering. And I'm going, well, I guess I'll just lie here on the floor for a while and freak out all the customers. And so what I ended up doing was having him call a friend of mine. So it was like, 911, you need to come pick me up, please. And so they've given me water, my feet are up, and I can't talk and I can't move, and it's just a bad time all around. So we come to an impasse. They can't do anything more for me, but I can't be lying on the floor in the cafe because I'm disturbing business and I'm a total freak show at this point, and you have looky-loos everywhere. Personally, I don't want to get stared at because I'm having a bad time. So they said, well, do you want to stay here or do you want to move? And I said, you can try to move me, but I can't help you. I don't have the muscle strength. You're going to have to deadlift me. And so what ended up happening was that they grabbed the bulkiest, employees, and they ended up carrying me to the break room. And as soon as they lifted me up, the episode started all over again. I was muttering just gibberish and I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I was just flopping in their arms, and they sat me on a chair and I'm like, no. I couldn't talk, but I was just, floor, you need to put me on the floor. So they get me on the floor and my feet are up on a chair, and I wait and I wait and I wait. And at this point, from the point that I started my episode, it had been happening for about 25 minutes. And I still couldn't talk very well, and I still couldn't move very well. And I'm thinking, well, usually with a small episode where it's just kind of floppy or a little bit of vertigo, I just drink a lot of water and I sit until I feel better. But at this point, it had been going on for a half hour. So I knew that this was one of the ones I couldn't take care of myself. So they ended up having to call the ambulance. So they get on the phone and they're saying she's Linnea, this is her birth date, and they're looking at my wristband, trying to pronounce neurocardiogenic syncope and completely failing. And they're asking for my medications. I usually keep my medications in a pencil bag. Ooh. And I probably should have had it ready. But I have them in a pencil bag like this. And it's awesome because I can keep all of my meds in one bag, and if I decide I'm switching from my purse to my backpack, I just grab this, stick it in there, and I don't have to worry that I missed drugs. So this is what it looks like, and I've got all my various things here. I have an oximeter to see if I'm cyanotic, which basically means that I have my lips are looking blue, my nails are looking blue, and it's an indication that I'm not getting enough oxygen. So they're asking for my medications, and I say pencil bag. They've seen me with it, so they know that I keep them in there. But the pencil bag's nice because it doesn't advertise that you have issues. So the ambulance arrives. The paramedic is quite cute, I'm not gonna lie. He talks to me, he puts me on the heart monitor, he's like, it looks like you're fine, your heart rate's fine because I was lying down, and my blood pressure is fine because I was lying down, but he said, I don't know what this is. I said, well, it's dysautonomia. It's like a cousin to POTS, and he recognized POTS and he recognized dysautonomia. So we were getting somewhere, but since I still had the dysphagia and I still had the extreme muscle weakness, he said, you're not doing very well and I can't keep you here, so we're going to take you to the hospital. I'm going, oh, come on. This was not how I wanted to spend my day. So I get carted out in front of the entire building, all the customers, all of my fellow employees, and they're all going, bye, buddy. That seems to be the story of my life, just making a scene, and on my way I go. So, I get some fluids on the way there, and he talks to me and basically says, you're too young to have this many issues, and I said, no shit, Sherlock. So I go to the hospital, I get fluids, I start to feel better, because the best way for me to stop having an episode is to get IV fluids. So I ended up getting one IV bag in the ambulance and another 2 at the hospital. And after that, I felt, not fine. I felt really tired, but the episode itself was over, thank God. So I got to go home, and by the next day, I made sure I had all of my water on board and my drugs on board, and I felt a lot better. I felt a lot better than I thought I would, because with a full episode like this, usually I am completely useless for a week. And I had this on Saturday, and today is Monday. And I've kind of returned to normal functioning. But I thought I'd share with you because it's a lot easier to describe when it's recent versus, when it's been months and months and months. And I think it's good for people to hear about the experiences that other people have with NCS and dysautonomia, because it makes you feel like you're not so alone in the world, and it helps feel a little bit more okay with it, I think, because you're not the only one going through it. And it reminds you that even though it sucks, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And because I got the IV fluids, and because I was prepared with, my medications in my bag and my medical alert bracelet, everything went a lot better. And it was a lot more organized, and it was a lot less scary because I knew what it was. You know, this wasn't something new. It was just something that was going to be kind of an ass ache. But I thought I'd share that with you. And it kind of leads into the fact that, you know, it's almost Christmas and it's almost New Year's, and that's like a blackout month for retail. And so my parents have strongly advised that I talk to my bosses and go, you know, I still have to have my follow-up appointment with my doctor, and the closest one they have is January 3rd. So it's going to be a minute. But usually with that kind of stuff, your employer wants some kind of doctor's note basically saying you can go back to work. But I feel so guilty for the fact that I'm missing 2 weeks of work because of this. And so I've been just really guilty about it. And, you know, my mom, being my mom, and I love her very much, I have a friend, and I've been friends with her for years and years and years, and she has type 1 diabetes. And she goes, you know, if she had, you know, a diabetic problem and it took her out of work and out of school, do you think that she should feel guilty about that? And I said, well, no. And she said, so why is this different? And I'm thinking to myself, it's not, but because it's a misunderstood disorder, I feel, you know, I was feeling that this was somehow not as severe as being diabetic or being, you know, whatever it is that you are. And I realized that I kind of had a societal brainwash that I had to feel guilty about something that wasn't in my control. So I just wanted to tell you guys that you're not the only one that feels that guilt about feeling like you're not enough or feeling like you're not reliable. And I just wanted to say that you are, and the fact that you're wanting to keep moving forward despite all of your struggles is the bravest thing. And that I wanted to tell you that you need to keep moving forward and you need to keep living your life because you are stronger than anyone thinks. And that I'm just really proud of all of you guys that you're going through this and that you're continuing to go through it, because no one will ever know how you feel. But the fact that you get up every day and continue to live your life and not let this stop you is so huge. So I just wanted to say that I was proud of all of you guys, and that I hope that my recent adventure helps you in some way.